The snow was falling so heavily that night on Mount Serok that the world had turned into a white blur, erasing the road, the trees, and the sky. It was the kind of cold that hurt to breathe, a biting winter chill that warned everyone to stay inside. But Han Se-jeon was not inside. He was standing on the side of a desolate mountain road next to his sleek, black luxury car. Se-jeon was a man who looked like he owned the winter. He was tall, dressed in a black wool coat that cost more than an average car, and his face was handsome but frozen in a permanent expression of indifference. In the business world of Seoul, they called him the Wolf. He was the heir to the Hana Group, a massive conglomerate, or chaebol, that owned everything from department stores to microchips. He was rich, powerful, and completely alone. He had stopped because a tree had fallen across the road, blocking his path. He was annoyed. He checked his expensive watch, calculating how much money he was losing by standing here. But as he turned to get back into his car, he saw something in the ditch. It was an old, rusted sedan, half buried in the snow. The driver's door was open, but no one was there. Se-jeon felt a strange pull, a curiosity he couldn't explain. He walked closer, his leather shoes crunching on the ice. He heard a sound. It wasn't the wind. It was a rhythmic thumping coming from the trunk of the abandoned car. Thump, thump, thump. He shouldn't have opened it. A smart man would have called the police and driven away, but Han Se-jeon pulled the latch. The trunk popped open with a screech of rusty metal. Inside, curled up in a tight ball, was a girl. She was wrapped in a filthy blanket, shaking so violently that her teeth were chattering like a machine. When the light from Se-jeon's flashlight hit her, she looked up. Her face was pale, almost transparent, and her eyes were wide with terror. She didn't scream, she didn't cry. She just stared at him like a small animal that knew it was about to be eaten. Her hair was a strange, messy, ash-blonde color, tangled and dirty. "Who are you?" Han Se-jeon asked. His voice was deep and commanding. The girl didn't answer. She opened her mouth, but only a dry rasp came out. She was clutching something tightly in her frozen hands. It was a Rubik's Cube. "Can you speak?" he asked again. She shook her head slowly. She looked at his hand, then at the snow, trembling. Han Se-jeon felt a weird pang in his chest. He hated messy situations, and this was very messy. But he couldn't leave her here. She would be a block of ice by morning. He sighed, a puff of white fog escaping his lips. "Get in," he said, gesturing to his warm car. "I'm not going to hurt you." She hesitated, looking at him with suspicion, but the warmth coming from the open car door was too tempting. She crawled out of the trunk, her legs wobbling, and stumbled toward him. He caught her arm to steady her. She flinched, as if his touch burned her, but she let him guide her into the passenger seat. As he drove away, leaving the storm behind, the silence in the car was heavy. She didn't look at him, she just stared at the heater vents, soaking in the warmth.
Se-jeon glanced at her out of the corner of his eye. Her hands were moving fast. Click, click, click. She was twisting the Rubik's Cube. He watched in the rearview mirror. In less than 10 seconds, the messy colors were perfectly aligned. She solved it without even looking. Se-jeon brought her to his home, a massive penthouse apartment at the top of the Honora Tower in the center of Seoul. It was a glass castle in the sky, overlooking the Han River. It was beautiful, modern, and completely empty. There were no photos, no plants, no signs of life, just expensive furniture and silence. It was the perfect home for a wolf. He gave her a guest room and some of his old clothes. He decided to call her Nabi, which means butterfly, because she was quiet and looked like she might fly away if he moved too fast. For the first few days, living with Nabi was strange. Se-jeon was used to people wanting things from him, money, power, favors, but Nabi wanted nothing. She stayed in her room. She ate only when he wasn't looking. She was like a ghost haunting his hallway. But slowly, things changed. One night, he came home late from work. exhausted from fighting with his board of directors. He loosened his tie and walked into the kitchen, expecting the usual darkness. Instead, he smelled something delicious. Nabi was standing at the stove. She was wearing one of his white dress shirts, which hung on her small frame like a dress. She was boiling a pot of ramyeon, the spicy instant noodles that every Korean loves. She looked up, startled, holding a wooden spoon. She looked terrified, as if she expected him to yell at her for touching his kitchen. Seojin just walked over, took a pair of chopsticks from the drawer, and sat at the island counter. "Is there enough for me?" he asked. Nabi blinked, then quickly nodded. She pushed a bowl toward him. They ate in silence, the only sound the slurping of noodles. It was spicy, hot, and simple. For a man who ate at Michelin-star restaurants every day, this was the best meal he had eaten in years. He watched her eat. She was hungry, eating fast, getting soup on her cheek. Without thinking, Seojin reached out and wiped the drop of soup from her face with his thumb. It was a moment of pure skinship, that electric physical contact that makes hearts race. Nabi froze. Seojin froze. He pulled his hand back quickly. "You're messy," he muttered, looking away to hide the fact that his ears were turning red. The peace didn't last long. A few days later, Seojin received a summons to the hospital. His grandfather, the chairman of the Honora Group, was dying. The chairman was a scary man who had built the company from nothing. Even from his hospital bed, he was terrifying. "Seojin," the old man wheezed. "The investors are nervous. They say you are too cold, too much of a loner. They want a stable leader. You must marry." "I don't have time for dating," Seojin said coldly. "Make time," the chairman shouted, coughing. "If you are not engaged by the end of the month, I will give the CEO position to your brother, Minho." Minho. The name made Seojin's blood boil. Minho was his half-brother, the son of his father's second wife. Minho was handsome and charming on the outside, but inside, he was a snake. He was cruel, lazy, and corrupt. He hated Seojin because Seojin was the capable one, the one who actually did the work. If Minho took over the company, he would ruin it in a year. "I won't let Minho destroy what I built," Seojin said. "Then bring a fiancé to the company gala on Friday. Show the world you are human." Seojin left the hospital feeling trapped. Where was he going to find a fake fiancé in 2 days? He couldn't ask the rich heiresses he knew. They were all spies for his enemies. He needed someone who had no connections, someone who would be quiet, someone who owed him a favor. He thought of the girl in his apartment, the butterfly.
He went home and found Nabi sitting by the window, watching the rain. He sat down next to her. "Nabi," he said gently, "I saved your life. Now I need you to save mine." She looked at him with wide, curious eyes. "I need you to pretend to be my fiancé," he explained, "just for one night. You don't have to speak. You just have to stand next to me, smile, and look at me like you love me. Can you do that?" Nabi looked at his face. She saw the worry behind his cold glasses. She nodded. Friday night arrived. The Honora Gala was the event of the year. The ballroom was filled with gold decorations, crystal chandeliers, and the richest people in Korea. Everyone was drinking expensive champagne and whispering gossip. The biggest gossip was about the wolf. Who was the mystery woman he was bringing? When the doors opened, the room went silent. Seojin walked in looking dashing in a tuxedo. But no one was looking at him. They were looking at Nabi. Seojin had hired the best stylists in the city. They had transformed the stray girl into a princess. Her messy blonde hair was now sleek and silver, shining like moonlight. She wore a deep blue velvet dress that made her skin look like porcelain. She held Seojin's arm tightly, her eyes scanning the room. She looked terrified, but to the crowd she looked mysterious and elegant. "She's beautiful," people whispered. "Who is she?" Seo-jun felt a surge of pride. He placed his hand over hers to calm her down. "Just breathe," he whispered. "I'm right here." But then the mood changed. Han Min-ho walked through the crowd. He was wearing a flashy burgundy suit and holding a glass of red wine. He had a cruel smile on his face. He walked right up to them. "Well, well," Min-ho sneered. "So this is the girl. Big brother, I didn't know you had it in you." He looked at Nabi with a creepy, intense stare. "You look familiar, sweetheart. Have we met before?" Nabi froze. Her breath hitched. A flash of memory hit her brain like lightning. A dark room. A man's voice laughing. Pain. She started to tremble. "Cat got your tongue?" Min-ho laughed. "Or are you just dumb?" He took a step closer. "Let me help you loosen up." He pretended to trip, spilling his entire glass of red wine all over Nabi's beautiful blue dress. The red stain spread across her chest like a wound. The crowd gasped. It was a classic bully move, a humiliation tactic. Seo-jun saw red. The wolf came out. He grabbed Min-ho by the lapels of his suit and shoved him backward. "You piece of trash," he growled. He was about to punch him, to ruin the gala, to destroy his reputation. He didn't care. But then a sound stopped him. Ping. It was a piano key. Nabi had stepped away. She wasn't crying. She wasn't running away. She had walked over to the grand piano in the center of the stage. She sat down on the bench, ignoring the wine dripping from her dress. She lifted her hands. Then she played. It wasn't a simple song. It was a complex, furious, classical piece, Rachmaninoff. Her fingers flew across the keys faster than the eye could see. The music was powerful, angry, and perfect. It was the sound of a storm. The entire room went deadly silent. Everyone stared at the girl. She played with the skill of a master pianist, pouring all her fear and anger into the music. Min-ho's smile dropped. He looked at her hands. He watched the way her fingers moved. His eyes widened in shock. He recognized that playing style. Seo-jun stared at her, stunned. Who was this girl? She wasn't just a stray. She was a prodigy. When she finished the last chord, she stood up, looking Min-ho dead in the eye. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. The performance was her scream. She turned and walked out of the hall, her head held high. Seo-jun ran after her, leaving his brother looking like a fool.
Back at the penthouse, the adrenaline was wearing off. Seo-jun found Nabi standing on the balcony, shivering in the cold night air. He took off his tuxedo jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. "You were amazing," he said. "Where did you learn to play like that?" She didn't answer. She was looking at the city lights, tears streaming down her face. She looked broken again. That night, Seo-jun couldn't sleep. He had too many questions. He went to his home office to do some work. He opened the door and stopped. The room was dark, lit only by the blue glow of his computer screens. Nabi was sitting in his chair. She wasn't playing games. She was typing. And she was typing fast. Her fingers were moving across his mechanical keyboard at a blur, just like they had moved on the piano. Lines of green code were cascading down the screens like a digital waterfall. "Nabi!" Seo-jun called out. She didn't hear him. She was in a trance. She hit the enter key with a loud snap. On the big screen, a lock icon turned green. Access granted. Seo-jun rushed forward. He looked at the screen. She had hacked into the Honora Group's private server. She had bypassed firewalls that cost millions of dollars. She had opened the secret financial ledgers, the files that even Seo-jun couldn't see. He spun her chair around. "Who are you? You're not just a mute girl. Who are you? Nabi looked up. The innocent look was gone. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, and tired. She reached for the keyboard and typed one word on the screen. Ghost. Seojun gasped. Everyone knew the legend of Ghost. Ghost was a famous hacker, a genius who had disappeared 3 years ago. Her real name was Choi Ji-soo. She was the daughter of a math genius. She had uncovered a massive corruption scandal and then vanished off the face of the earth. People said she was dead. "You are Choi Ji-soo?" Seojun whispered. She nodded slowly. She opened her mouth, and her voice finally worked. It was raspy and cracked from years of silence. "Help," she whispered. "Minho, he knows." Seojun felt a cold chill run down his spine. "My brother? What does he know?" "He is the one who took me 3 years ago. I found proof that he was stealing money from the company. He kidnapped me. He kept me in a basement. He made me play the piano for his guests while he threatened me. That's why I stopped speaking. I escaped during the blizzard. That's how I ended up in the trunk." Seojun felt a rage he had never felt before. His own brother had tortured this brilliant woman. Minho was a monster. "He recognized my playing tonight. He knows I am alive. He will come for me. You have to let me go. If I stay, he will destroy you too." Seojun grabbed her hands. They were warm now. "I am not letting you go anywhere," he said fiercely. "I am the wolf, remember? Wolves protect their pack. Minho thinks he is a hunter, but he is just a scavenger. We are going to take him down, together." The next morning, the war began. Seojun woke up to the sound of sirens. He looked out the window. Police cars were surrounding the Honora Tower. The news was on the TV. Breaking news. CEO Han Seojun accused of corporate espionage. Warrant issued for his arrest. Minho had struck first. He had framed Seojun. He planted fake evidence saying Seojun was stealing company secrets. "We have to run," Jisoo said. She was dressed in black jeans and a hoodie, holding a laptop. She looked like a soldier now. "We can't fight him here." They slipped out the back service elevator. It was a tense escape scene. Seojun drove his car like a maniac, dodging paparazzi and police. They went to a safe house, a small, hidden villa in the countryside. For 2 days, they worked. It was just the two of them against the world. Seojun used his business knowledge to track the money, and Jisoo used her hacking skills to break through the digital walls that Minho had built. They worked side by side, drinking instant coffee and eating snacks. It was during this time that the romance truly bloomed. Late one night, Jisoo fell asleep at the desk. Seojun gently picked her up to carry her to the sofa. She woke up in his arms. They looked at each other. There was no need for words. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "When this is over," Seojun whispered, "I'm gonna take you on a real date. No fake fiancés, no hiding." "I'd like that," she smiled. It was the first time she had truly smiled, and it lit up the dark room. But they had a deadline. The board meeting to fire Seojun and appoint Minho as CEO was happening the next morning. If they didn't stop it, Minho would win. He would control the company and bury the truth forever.
"We have the evidence," Jisoo said, pointing to the screen. She had found the secret bank accounts where Minho hid the stolen money. She also found the video files from the basement where she was held. "But I can't upload it from here. His firewalls are too strong. I need to be in the building. I need to plug directly into the main server in the boardroom." "That's suicide," Seojun said. "The place will be crawling with security." Jisoo stood up. "I'm not afraid anymore. I have the wolf with me." The next morning, the Honora headquarters was a fortress. Security guards were everywhere. In the top-floor boardroom, Minho sat at the head of the table, smiling. The board of directors sat around him. "Seojun is a criminal.
He is on the run. We must remove him from the company immediately." "Agreed," said the investors. Suddenly, the alarm went off. Beep, beep, beep. Chaos erupted in the hallway. It was a distraction. While the guards ran to check the fire, Se-jun and Jisoo burst through the stairwell doors. Se-jun was wearing a black suit, looking dangerous. Jisoo was right behind him with her laptop. They sprinted toward the boardroom. 2 guards blocked the way. Se-jun didn't slow down. He used a judo throw to flip the first guard and shoved the second one into the wall. He was fighting for his life, fighting for her. He kicked open the double doors of the boardroom. Bang! Minho jumped up. "Security! Get them!" "Don't move!" Se-jun shouted, his voice echoing off the walls. "If you want the truth, you will listen!" Jisoo didn't wait. She ran to the main projector. She plugged in her cable. "Stop her!" Minho screamed, pulling a small knife from his pocket. He was desperate. He lunged at Jisoo. "No!" Se-jun dived in front of her. He caught Minho's wrist mid-air. He twisted it hard, hearing a snap. Minho dropped the knife, screaming in pain. He pushed him to the ground and held him there. "Upload it!" Se-jun yelled. Jisoo hit enter. The giant screen on the wall flickered. Then the truth appeared. Bank statements showing Minho stealing millions, emails coordinating the kidnapping, and finally a video of Minho laughing at a terrified Jisoo in a basement 3 years ago. The board of directors gasped. The room went silent. Minho stopped struggling. He knew it was over. The police, who had been waiting outside, rushed in. But this time they didn't arrest Se-jun. They handcuffed Minho. As they dragged him away, he screamed and cursed. But Se-jun didn't even look at him. He was looking at Jisoo. She was standing by the computer, shaking. The adrenaline was fading. Se-jun walked over to her. The room was full of people, but he only saw her. He wrapped his arms around her, pulling her into a tight hug. She buried her face in his chest and sobbed. It was finally over. The ghost didn't have to hide anymore.
It was spring in Seoul. The harsh winter was a distant memory. The cherry blossoms were blooming, turning the city into a cloud of pink petals. Han Se-jun sat on a park bench by the Han River. He was no longer the cold, lonely wolf. He looked relaxed. He was holding 2 ice cream cones. Jisoo walked toward him. She looked healthy and happy. Her hair was back to its natural dark color, shining in the sun. She sat down next to him and took the ice cream. "You're late," Se-jun teased. "I was busy," she grinned. "I was redesigning the company's cybersecurity. It was a mess." Se-jun laughed. It was a sound that still surprised his employees. The CEO laughed a lot these days. "So," he said, looking at her, "are you happy?" Jisoo looked at the river, then at him. She pulled a Rubik's Cube from her bag. She mixed it up, then handed it to him. "You try," she said. Se-jun fumbled with it. He was terrible at it. He took a minute just to get one side. Jisoo giggled and put her hands over his, guiding his fingers. "Like this," she whispered. He looked into her eyes. The fear was gone. The silence was gone. He said, "I love you." It was simple. It was true. "I love you too," she replied. Se-jun leaned in and kissed her under the falling cherry blossom petals. It was the perfect ending. The snow had melted, and the silent winter had turned into a warm, beautiful spring. They sat there for a long time, watching the river flow. 2 broken people who had fixed each other, ready to face whatever came next.